couldn't make it to Endeavor tonight. And so my name is Rob Johnson, and I'm the creator of BitcoinCrypto.News in Southwest Florida. We did this I created in 2014, and we now have over 350 something members throughout Southwest Florida. And I have some guys that have helped me out all the time here to make sure everybody gets all the information they need on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I've got Clifford Mitchum right here that does all of our education. Jeremy is right back there, Jeremy Barnett. He does all the video for us and live streaming. And then Mike, Mike Chandler does all of our advanced training. Later tonight, some of the people that are well-versed in cryptocurrency can go with Mike up to that front office and talk more about cryptocurrency. Do we have anybody new tonight? Any new people to cryptocurrency? It's a couple people. All right, 3 people. Okay, great. So you're going to hear about some things in cryptocurrency that will help you along the way to get more familiar with some of the top cryptos. So with that, I'm going to introduce Clifford, and he's going to give you guys a presentation on cryptocurrency in action.
Yes, thank you, Rob. All right, so anybody that's also in the chat or in the live stream, go ahead and type in the chat, make sure you can hear, post any questions. That way we can be in contact with you and make sure that your questions get answered just as well as anybody that's here in the room. One of the major questions we get with cryptocurrencies is, what can I do with my cryptocurrency? How do I access my Bitcoin? What can I do if I have Ethereum and Litecoin? The fact of the matter is, number one, if you've gone into the crypto realm, you can go back out into the standard currencies through a wire transfer. That one's done through Coinbase, because Coinbase is generally our entry and exit to the cryptocurrency world. Now, wire transfers in Coinbase generally take 2 to 8 days, so keep that in mind. It's not instantaneous whenever you move through that. The other way to actually access your funds is with a debit card. There's a company called Shift that actually has a debit card that's connected to your Coinbase account. So now, beginning with the wire transferring of funds. When you log into your Coinbase account, you can go into your accounts and you can choose to have funds wire transferred to you. So it's pretty simple. As long as you have your banking information in that, they'll go ahead and make that transaction. Now, as I noted before, it's not something that's instantaneous. I've heard people go as fast as 2 days have funds in their account. That is not the general case. In general, I've heard people that take it as long as 9 days, but closer are in 7 or 8 days. A lot of it's just a matter of business days that it works on that. Don't believe they have anybody working over the weekends just yet. So that's the first thing to keep into that. So now you're also going to select which accounts you're going to be moving your funds from. In Coinbase, you have 4 different cryptocurrencies inside that exchange. Your Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Each one of those different currencies is connected to a different wallet. So you have to choose which one you're pulling funds from. If you have $1,000 between the mix, you need to take out 500. You have to choose the currencies that have that. Note, each of those wire transfers are going to have a fee associated with that. So if you're pulling from multiple wallets, you'll have multiple transaction fees in that. So always take care to determine how you're going to go about it and what exactly you're going to do for that. Now, having your banking information is something that's generally set up. I know when I set up my Coinbase account, I didn't put in my banking information. I just had my credit card and debit cards, because those actually transacted faster than using a wire transfer. So I had to set up my banking account information later to make sure I could do any wire transfers. Now, the thing about the crypto world is generally you do not want to take your money out from crypto at this point. Some people may have considerable gains, but a lot of people don't. To pull it out over just a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 really is not to the best tax advantage. And if you're in cryptocurrency, you should not be playing with money that you are going to need. So if you have your rent money, you put it at the beginning of the month, and you need to take out that rent money at the end of the month, the market may not be in the best place for you to do that. You only have a loss when you take out when the market's down or when the currencies are down. All right, so always keep that in mind. right? So it's all about timing. I personally recommend if money's going to be taken out, just do it on a quarterly basis. Doing it on a month to month, it's just cryptocurrencies are volatile. Not always the best thing to do, but talk to your accountant, make sure it's something that works out for you. All right. So choose your mother funds. Set there. So now, referring to the Shift card. Shift is a system that works in conjunction with Visa. So anywhere that a Visa is accepted, a Shift card will be accepted. All right. You use your Coinbase account to attach it. At the moment, there are a couple other accounts like Dwala, which is another exchange. They can attach to a Shift account, and there are some other international accounts. So if you're around the world, you have to see what your local accounts or your local company is that's attached with Shift, so that way you can transact your funds. When you go into Coinbase, you can select Join Shift, or you can do a Google search of Coinbase Shift card, and it'll take you to the page where you can go ahead and set up your account. To set up the account, to have your account made and the card issued to you, it's a $10 fee. And that's just for basics. This is the same amount of money that is generally spent in a banking or a typical bank account when they give you a debit card. It's just a matter of it's included as a portion of your account for whatever the banking process is. And it's not something that you generally see. But here, being in the open ledger of cryptocurrency, those fees are going to be an upfront. So with that, the card is used just like any other credit or debit card. It's going to, by default, be the last 4 digits of the phone number attached to your account is going to be your PIN number. So keep that in mind. If you want to change it, you go to the support line through Shift, and they'll go ahead and make the adjustments to make it to a different PIN. And if somebody knows your phone number and they get your Shift card, that's probably not the most secure thing. So highly recommend changing that just to ensure that it's something that you'll recall and that you'll have access to and nobody else can guess. But that's just basic security. So now, the hidden dangers of it. Now, in Australia, it's probably had the most recent information on this. The banks actually froze the accounts of transactions that were done in cryptocurrency. This wasn't directly connected to the Shift card, but it was connected to the bank account. So if a bank sees that there's some transaction going between Coinbase and your account, they could say, hey, we don't like the volatility of this. We think it's gambling, like what happened in South Korea when they froze those accounts and those exchanges. Or if they just feel that it's a money laundering situation, which has happened in the United States to individuals, or some other illicit pretense. Just be careful of what's going on and know that it's a possibility. The last thing we want is to have funds move to one area and then not having your access to those funds. I highly, highly, highly recommend spreading out your cryptocurrencies. Multiple wallets, multiple exchanges. In particular, Coinbase is a closed exchange, so it only has those 4 cryptocurrencies. But since it is an exchange, if the IRS were to come in and say, hey, we need to do an audit of everything you have, no more transactions, all the transactions within Coinbase could be frozen and stopped. They may very well be opened up again, but if all of your money is on that exchange, you're cut off from all your funds. So you always want to have that spread around so you have mobility, and as a security focus, if one thing were to go down or become compromised, you're not losing everything. So spread it around, put it in what you like. Now, we also have companies like Stripe, who does credit card processing. There's also Coinify that does processing. Stripe is ending its cryptocurrency portion of its business, all right, as of April 23rd. So funds going through that are not going to be there, and that can happen. There's several companies that have ceased using Bitcoin. The main reason they do that is because of transaction fees. There are so many people entering the cryptocurrency world that the amount of transactions going through has caused the mining costs or the fee to do a transaction to rise considerably. Now, it's not always the best coin to use. Bitcoin is not always the best coin to use, depending on those transaction fees. So whichever account you connect to your Coinbase account, you want to keep that in mind. Because if all of a sudden you're using your debit card to buy a Coke for $1, come to find out your transaction fee was $2, not the best financial investment. And my personal rule of thumb is if it's a small transaction, I'm not using Bitcoin. I'm using something like Litecoin or a different altcoin with respect to that, just because of the transaction fees. Bitcoin Cash is one to really start to look into for a smaller transaction. But it's a matter of the volume. If you're buying something that's worth several thousand, Bitcoin may be the better route to go. And if you're doing something more complicated that has to have title change or inspections like a home, Ethereum may be the better coin to use. Always determine what situation will be the best for you. Now, with respect to that, Square is now adding Bitcoin services. So things change and they shift. Getting used to volatility, getting used to change is at the heart and soul of being in cryptocurrency. As we all know right now, cryptocurrency as a whole has actually been a down market compared to what happened in December. So knowing that, you can always make your appropriate decisions based off what's going on and how the world's treating coins and with respect to those. Beware the tax man. All right. A lot of people get real excited once they have funds that enter into the cryptocurrency, particularly once those funds double, even triple in some cases. And they want to go out and just spend that. Know that every transaction is a taxable event. When you're spending, even on a shift card, for example, a soda, those funds are going to be transferred from Bitcoin to USD. All right, so when that happens, there's a taxable event based off when the Bitcoin was purchased and when the Bitcoin was sold, and that sell being at the point that the soda was purchased. Always be cognizant of that, so that way you can track and make sure that you're not overspending into what you're holding aside to make sure you're covered on your taxes. I want you all to be safe as possible.
Is there any current updates as far as Bitcoin in retirement funds?
With respect to this, no, I haven't heard any connection with that as far as using a shift card in retirement funds.
No, not a shift card. No, I just meant having Bitcoin as an asset in your retirement fund. Bitcoin IRA.
Oh, Bitcoin IRA, any changes on that? I haven't heard anything. Everything's been pretty stable with that. The main thing is the taxing situation that's changing with the new tax plan. There are specific exemptions for that, but I don't really feel we have a lot of people that are really pulling out their retirement funds that are in crypto at this point to have a lot of changes going through. Right? So the status quo is something that's still acceptable and valid. But as we know in crypto, that can change tomorrow.
We do have an expert coming up to talk 401ks. That's one of our
March 1st.
On March.
So our March 1st meeting, we're going to have a 401k gentleman here. And at our next meeting, we're actually going to have some CPAs. So that way people can really get ready for their taxes and with respect to cryptocurrencies. So make sure everything you know is a taxable event and keep track of that either on your own or through some other system. Now, know about FIFO. FIFO is a rule that's used in trading. It's called first in, first out. All right. If you bought cryptocurrency years ago and you have an increase on that, but then you buy cryptocurrency yesterday, all right? You're not, and you go and use your shift card, that shift card is not taking out the cryptocurrencies from a taxable standpoint. It's not taking out the cryptocurrencies that you bought yesterday. It's taking out the ones that came into the wallet first. And that's always taken into account whenever doing any taxable event, which any transaction is a taxable event. So the oldest ones are the ones that come out first. So that could be a significant capital gains issue, which I'm going to talk about just in the next portion. That could be a significant capital gains issue. All right, so that's also why it may be best to move into different wallets. If you have older coins, move those into a storage wallet and leave that one to the side or in a wallet that you're not using. Now, I do have to preface everything I'm saying. This is all for educational purposes. I am not a financial advisor. I am not an accountant. I'm just telling you the information that I've learned and I've grasped along the way. So be sure to talk to an experienced professional to make decisions with respect to your account and your situation. Got to start off with that next. We got pretty deep into this point. We'll backdate that. So yeah, moving your older coins into a wallet for storage would be the best way to go my humble and educated little bit of experience that I have. So, knowing that. So now we've got a capital gains issue. Capital gains taxes are based off of generally 29.5%. Your particular situation may be different, and you may only be down to 12, 2, 4, 21, 35. Talk to your accountant to find out what your situation is to know that. The main thing is a lot of people, again, have significant profits. They go and buy a helicopter and all their friends' motorcycles without taking into account, oh yeah, I have to pay taxes on this, and I just spent all my tax money, and now they get to give you silver bracelets. All right? They're very nice, but I wouldn't recommend them. All right, so always keep that in. Hold aside 30% of any profits just for the tax man. If you end up having to pay less, you're still covered, and there's a savings account for you. But you're always prepared for that. Any other thing? Oh, go ahead.
On the taxes here, do you have anybody involved in the tax arena in the group?
Well, I know it depends on how long you hold the asset. If it's less than 1 year, it could be up to 37 to 39%. If it's over 1 year, then it's about 28, 29%. To 20%, 0 to 20%, depending on your tax
I was
situation.
watching on the some highlights on the address. I didn't get to watch the whole address, but with the new tax bracket coming up, they changed that a lot.
Yeah, it was 39.6, and now it's gone down with the tax cut. It's 37%.
Right, and there are some special provisions for cryptocurrencies where they're going to provide an amnesty. They talked about providing an amnesty on older transactions or older funds, and it might be in the range of even 12, as low as 12, or even 18%. You got to talk to a professional to know where exactly you fall. So just don't go crazy and spend everything. All right, it's cool just because you have enough to buy a helicopter does not mean you should. All right, keep that in mind. All right. There's a lot of people that got in trouble with that because they weren't keeping track of those things. All right, so do that. I want everybody to be safe and make money. All right.
So what happens to daily traders or weekly traders who are trading in and out of altcoins?
Well, the question was, what happens to somebody that's going in and out of altcoins daily? All right. Each time someone goes out of a coin and goes into another one, and out of that one into another one, that's 2 taxable events. Now, the APIs within Coinbase should be keeping track of most of that, and they have one of the most detailed systems for keeping track of those records. Not every exchange is that detailed. So you have to make sure that you know where your transactions are, where you stand. You should have a program that's tracking your movements within coins. I made a personal Excel sheet that I keep track of all my coins, when I got into it, when I got out of it, what my percentage gain is, so I know what coins I can use to get into another coin because I'm in the profit, what coins I shouldn't, I need to wait for it to come back to a particular price. So you have to keep track of that on your own. There are BitcoinTax.com, I believe, is a site that helps with that, and there are some new ones coming along the way. I just don't have them off the top of my head. But finding a site that's going to keep track of that is one of the best things you can do, just so you know where you're at. If you are a person that's going in and out of coins, you need to know where you're at all times. All right, because you don't want to overextend yourself because you made a margin call, they called this, and got yourself into problems. So that's also something that as we learn and grow, you want to move into slowly. You don't want to, great, I know about Bitcoin, I'm going to go and get this, get that, this guy said it was cool, SEO. You'd be making a tangled mess. And then you're spending extra time on an accountant to sort through that. But just understand each buy and sell is a taxable transaction. So keeping good records on that. One note I did see, the IRS wants consistency. So if you're tracking it one way, then all of a sudden, oh wait, I make more money if I do it this way. You got to go through and change everything to account for that. All right, so it's got to be a consistent pattern throughout. The IRS itself has been pretty hands-off and pretty understanding and forthcoming with people that are in cryptocurrency. The main thing is they see that only a few hundred out of the million cryptocurrency players, investors, enthusiasts have filed it on their taxes. Now, that number is a little out of hand considering there's, if not millions, a lot more than several hundred that are in cryptocurrency. And they look at that as something that they have to put their hand in.
Are the exchanges reporting to the IRS?
Most are not. Coinbase specifically, since it's does a lot of business in the United States, and its physical headquarters is in San Francisco, but a lot of its exchange activity is actually in the UK. But because it's here, it's touchable by the IRS, and they had to give up information on 20,000 users, 14,000 users that did transactions over $20,000.
Yeah, I want to hit on that because I did a little research on that myself. The blockchain is public, so it's open source. So anybody from anywhere can look at a chain and understand it. There's all kinds of search engines that can actually show you every address in the Ethereum network, every address in the Bitcoin network. You look at it, you can see how much money's in every address. So it's all open, and it's just a bunch of ones and zeros and numbers. It's a hash is your address, and it's anonymous. So it's nobody knows who it is until you attach a name to it. And whether you do it by signing up and using the address and sending somebody else, you're using your email, and it can attach your fingerprints to that address. Some exchanges require you to give that information up front. Some requirements require that it was a KY something where they give you you got to have your photo ID to exchange certain amounts and raise your level to withdraw Bitcoin. So they're attaching stuff to it. They require that. Now, to make a long story short, there's a lot of companies out there, including Bitfury, which just announced today that they're launching a chain analysis software for use. And the government's already finding other companies to do that, which basically is like a Google spider. It goes out there and crawls across, and it just adds to a database and collects all your wallets. So they're going to be out there, even though they don't report, because it's public. They don't have to report. I mean, it's best when it comes to taxes is just we try to cheat the tax man because it'll always come back to haunt you.
Just pay it up front. All right. It could, even if it's as high as 35, 37%, the rest of that 60% is still yours. And it's more than you got, many people, I shouldn't say that. More than many people have made in the last.
I just want to throw it out there. Utilizing this group, I found a way because I didn't know how to track every in and out. So it was brought to my attention, coin tracking.
CoinTracking.com.
CoinTracking.com allows you with graphics and shows spreadsheets of every transaction you did toward the exchanges that allows APIs. So when I went into it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
A lot of information. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's the only thing that I have to go by right now on a large scale when I go into the appropriate exchanges that uses APIs. Now the other loose leaps that are out there, there's so many, I'm gonna have to go in there manually, and I'm reluctant to trade in there anyway because it's probably a one-off like a red coin or something. And so,
good coin, man.
I know, man. So that's my point is look at that if you're doing a lot of trading and utilize that.
It's actually cointracking.info.
Is it
and
info?
And you still have to go in and manually adjust things, right? Because I'm starting to use it, and CoinTracking and Coinbase and GDAX really screw things up because they're the same company but they're different exchanges. So you have to manually adjust all of those.
Yeah, it might take some work.
Yeah.
If a retirement plan owns some Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is sold, and the money goes into the retirement plan, then it shouldn't be taxable until it comes out of the retirement.
Depends what kind of plan you're going. It's either pre-tax or post-tax funds. If it's something like an IRA, it's all going to be counted post-tax. You've already paid your tax on that. So they're going to only be paying off the gains. All right. So if it's the initial principal, that's not going to be taxed. Now, if it's a separate, self-directed
Civil IRA?
I think it's a simple IRA. That's pre-tax or
Roth.
Roth is post-tax.
Yeah,
Roth post-tax.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of which retirement entity you're in to figure out when the tax will apply. Yeah. So you got to look at your specific account. That's kind of a very individual question. So we've got the dangers. We have that in mind. We have everything set up. Everything's right. What do I do? Where can I spend my Bitcoin? You know, what can I get? All right, there's a website called Spend Bitcoins. This has over 150,000 different retailers that you can buy anything from electronics, houses, cars, toys, or just general stuff. All right, so you have that available. It's kind of like a Craigslist. You put in your locations and it narrows it down to where you're at. But a lot are being added all the time, and more and more every day. So it's something that you can go to find out particular things. Now, for someone locally, there's actually a website called coinmap.org. There's locations like the Butterfly Estates, which actually accepts Bitcoin. And by looking on coinmap.org, you can find that, and it'll give you a location of that. There's only about 5 different businesses that accept Bitcoin in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Lehigh area, but we're going to be focusing on helping those businesses join that group, and that way they can accept Bitcoin at those locations.
Cliff, now that Square is adding it, will that change? Will that add to the locality of the use of Bitcoin then?
It has potential to, but a lot of people, even if it's added because they don't know anything about Bitcoin, they may not know they have that ability.
They just withdrew.
Square? Okay. Things change.
No, that was Stripe.
They just
Oh, was it
Stripe.
That's
Stripe
Stripe
just
that-
withdrew.
Sorry,
Square
Stripe,
just
that's
added.
They don't even have their own wallet like Ashley or something like that. It says buy Bitcoin.
Right. It's
That
Bitcoin, as we know, is still the Wild West. Things are getting added, things are getting done. It's becoming more user-friendly, but it's not always the most user-friendly. It's not always the easiest place to do. Any business that has it generally will announce it. And having it on Square or another application like that does open up the potential to a lot more businesses once they understand the power of cryptocurrency. So now, as I mentioned, there's all sorts of new applications that are being developed and new coins that are being developed for particular things. So you'll have essentially probably one day a Craigslist coin. So you don't even have to use cash when you go and do a transaction. It's potential. Or it's a great idea. Somebody out there, remember me, okay? All right, so you can get everything. Real estate is probably one of the most popular locations or venues that's really starting to embrace cryptocurrency. We know we have a friend that's in real estate, and they passed up almost $1.2 million in sales because they just didn't know how to do it. And that's a nice chunk of change. It'd be a nice commission. So people are really going to be moving into that space. And we hope to help them facilitate that so they don't have to miss out on deals like that. So now, with all that knowledge, we as a group are providing courses to help people understand and get more involved in cryptocurrency. Now, these courses are paid courses, so you have to buy a ticket going into them. But for somebody that wants somebody to bounce information off of or really help hold your hand through it, everything like that, we have courses available for that. The Bitcoin 101 is actually being held on Tuesday evenings. Every Tuesday that we're not holding a meeting or I don't have to go out of town or something special. We have and this one's just to get you started. Bitcoin 201 actually gets into getting on different exchanges and building your portfolio. Bitcoin 301 and 302 actually focus on trading strategies. Each one of these is a 2-hour session. So we can go through that information and go through and detail those materials. But the main thing is 301 and 302 was so comprehensive, we had to break it into 2 parts. But the main thing is once somebody's almost a full-fledged investor, they need to know plans of attack and different strategies to actually maximize their profits and their potentials. So we have that available, something to keep in mind. But these meetings will always be free so we can talk, get together, put our minds, and attack the world. I wanted to announce that. And then, I should take it off. No, it's okay. We are actually going to be working with the Rocket Lounge at their new location in Naples for our February 13th meeting. Yeah.
We're looking at February 13th, but we haven't got a solid date yet, so we'll announce it on Meetup yet.
Is that are they moving or there's another location?
No, it's brand new location, just a second location to their current one that they have in downtown Fort Myers, except it's huge.
Are there going to be any more downtown Fort Myers meetings?
Yeah, for classes, yes. The problem is normally we have over 100 people that come to these. It's just, it's hard to stand for 2.5 hours there. So that's why this Collier County space is just, it's beautiful. Like
Where's
you
it
see.
exactly at?
It's the Bank of America building down for 41.
We don't want to announce the street
We'll
address.
announce
yet.
it. We'll put it on our
We'll announce
meetup.
it once we have firm dates.
Hey, you guys, come and sit down, relax. You don't have to stand up. Well, there's plenty of seats over here if you want to come.
So the main thing is we're going to host our Lee County meetings here, and then in our second meeting is going to be in Collier County. So we don't have to have as much travel in between for some people. And as we grow and get bigger, we're looking to move into other areas and hopefully hopefully everybody's telling their friends. We can help everybody join the cryptocurrency world. So with that, any other questions? Nothing burning on the mind? You got everything down? Sure.
When we talk about the white elephant.
We'll always talk about the white elephant.
Do you want to say that or do you want me to touch on it?
No, we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about all the top cryptos too, and just for the amount of crowd that we have today, we're going to have Mike and everyone stay together, and that way the people out there in the internet can see what we're talking about too. But there's a lot of things that have happened in cryptocurrency recently that affected pricing. However, we look back at graphs and it's pretty evident that this happens in the January, February time. There has been like a lot of crackdowns on the exchanges. So of course we'll talk about those and where they're occurring in the world. But most of them are Asian, the Japanese, South Korea, things like that.
And that's one thing about cryptocurrency. It's very regional because of time shifts. The Asian markets are a good 9 to 12 hours ahead of us. So you'll see activity when you go to bed and when you wake up. That's because the Asian markets woke up and their activity changes and causes fluctuations. You'll have the Indian markets, it'll have a change in fluctuations as time goes throughout the day and as people wake up and go to sleep. Because the cryptocurrency world, 24/7, 365. It's not like a standard market. It doesn't shut down for something. It gets a little bit quieter depending on what region is awake and how many people are active, but it never really goes to sleep. So there's always the ability to do transactions. So I don't recommend spending too much time on energy drinks. Just rest, let it go, save your liver. It's all right. Coffee, don't overdo it. All right, so I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, in just a minute, Mike's going to talk a little bit about more advanced things. But in the meantime, we have a little bit of time here, and I always like to find out who's in the room, but not take a lot of time to do that because we don't have a lot of people tonight. Like normally we have 100 people. It's always a good idea to find out what each other does and what exactly we're invested in cryptocurrencies, just to figure out our occupation and then what we're interested in. So there's a lot of people here tonight that are focusing on certain coins and they're invested in certain coins for a reason. So I'd like to find out who those people are and what they're invested in. So I'll start, and then we're going to just quickly go around the room. It's going to be a quick thing. So you're just going to announce your name, what you currently do, and what cryptocurrencies you're interested in. So my name's Rob Johnson. I'm the owner of the Shops at the Butterfly Estates. I'm a property owner in downtown Fort Myers. I'm currently invested in several different cryptocurrencies. Most of them I'm very, very conservative when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I am not invested in a lot of altcoins. The only altcoin that I have right now is called Civic Coin. That's an identity application that is utilized for people that want to maybe go to the bank. You're on the blockchain if you want to go through the airport. Civic is that type of a coin that would allow you to be identified as you and you're on the blockchain. But I'm very, very conservative. So I stay to the top cryptocurrencies, and I'll tell you a little bit about those later. Clifford?
My name is Clifford Mitchum, and I do the educational direction for our group here. And my day job is solar power. So I put solar power on rooftops. The cryptos I have a pretty diverse portfolio. I like to stay in the more volatile areas, in the low-level coins. I'm big on red coin. RDD, got a lot of love there. Red coin in particular just got added to Twitter. I want to say it was about January 18th. As a tipping coin. It's designed to be a social coin, so you can actually tip people for the content and the information they put out using red coin. I have a lot of other smaller coins. Another one of my favorites is Dime Coin. That one's, like 20 Satoshi, not 100 Satoshis right now. So that one's a pretty small one for that. So I have a pretty good spread of different currencies I have.
My name's Mike Chandler. I'm the business development manager here. I'm trying to help look at the bigger picture and kind of guide towards long-term goals and directions for the company and for our organization and different reviews and things. On the side, I also a small business owner in town. I got a couple of supplement repair stores in town, ice cream store. So do some of that during the daytime and help out here as much as I can between stuff and at night and everything. And you know, it's a fun group to be with, and obviously a lot of stuff to learn.
Casey?
Hi, my name is Casey. I'm from down in Naples. I'm a bar manager down in Naples, and I've been involved in crypto for about 6 months now, actually. And it doesn't seem like that, but it's kind of crazy. Sometimes it goes fast, and then a lot of times it goes really slow. But yeah, I've invested into a lot of different ICOs and a few different altcoins. And I love the industry. I'm all about it. So cool.
Are you, man?
I'm Alex. I'm a beer sales rep. Haven't invested into too much because I'm just trying to understand it all and figure the best way to do it is
Over to you, sir.
Dave recommended HVAC works for Kuzo. We're kind of new at it, so yeah.
Oh, welcome. And you,
I'm his wife. I'm the one that stays home and does all the investigating.
Good to know. And you want to call, sir?
My name is Michael. I'm a realtor. I will do Bitcoin commissions. So if you guys want to sell your house, by all means, call me. I'm doing cryptocurrency for about a month and a half now. So last year we got me in, and I've seen the rocket and I've seen it come down. Kind of like, oh my goodness, it's still ahead. But kind of wish we held on to things a little bit longer instead of trying to play and position up. But learn.
So are you familiar at all with selling a home or anything for crypto yet? Or
No, I mean, I've been looking into it. I've looked at one of the first things I started getting into. I said, well, what's the two major industries, especially when I'm in? Like, what's going to replace crypto or real estate agents? And started looking at all these startups in New York and stuff like that. You can do shares of projects, but I haven't heard of anything down here. I've been looking on Craigslist, but yeah. I put it on Twitter a couple of times, but nobody's it.
Good for you, sir.
My name is Marcelo. I'm social media marketing. I'm pretty new at this. I'm just learning.
Very nice. Thanks for coming. How about you, sir?
My name is Rick. I'm in construction. I've been doing penny stocks for the last year and started getting into this pretty recently. My son's up in New York, and he's very well off in Bitcoin. He bought it, and actually paid a month's rent with Bitcoin.
Cool.
Back in the day, And
very cool.
So he's down right now. I'm gonna bring him next time.
All right.
I'm on Kai right now, having fun. I flew down yesterday. But
Nice. Well, welcome.
I'm looking forward to learning a lot from him.
Good. And for you, man?
I'm Tatiana, and I am in the nonprofit sector in Naples, and I'm also a business owner of an event planning firm. I got started into cryptocurrencies after Thanksgiving. I found out about it, and I basically did like a crash course and learned as much as I could. And I'm invested in the main cryptos right now, as well as some of the altcoins.
Nice. For you, sir?
I'm Steve. I do construction and co-finishing. Got into it probably around the 1st of December. Got a few coins, and just got into something called Crypterium. So we're sort of waiting to see what that ends up.
Kind of friend here. And for you, sir?
My name is Chase. I'm a manager at a paint store in Fort Myers, and I got into cryptos about Christmas time, right before that, and I've just been watching it, studying it.
Awesome. Awesome. And you, sir?
My name's Austin. Been doing crypto since early December, and I do construction, and I got Ripple and Stellar and the basics.
Ripple and Stellar, both good. That's great.
Looking to learn.
Very nice. And how about you, sir, right here in the blue shirt?
So I'm Brian Sajak. I own a user experience web design company since 2001. I'm actually not here for crypto. I'm here for blockchain. Understanding how it works so that I can use, well, this will come into my wheelhouse soon. Clients ask me, and I've got to explain how crypto works and blockchain and working with that.
Well, you're in the right crowd, for sure. Sir?
Yes, Ken Jefferson, retired from the mortgage and real estate business. I've been in cryptocurrency for about a year and a half. Most of the major top 10s, a little further down, and quite a few smaller the altcoins. I just spread some money around, and some of them will work, and some of them won't.
And your wife?
She was supposed to be here today. I saved her a seat. She's actually a jack of all trades with artists, with art, and books and publishing. And she actually has a book, a store called PJ Books and Reflections Shopping Center, and she actually is an authorized dealer to sell Bitcoin. So for some reason you have a problem with Coinbase or somewhere where you're trying to get it, she can literally put it in your wallet in a matter of seconds.
I just bought some from her today.
I know you did.
So that's called PJ Books.
Yeah.
For you, sir?
Dennis Owens, and we've been to several of your meetings, and my wife is really the
crypto person?
Yeah.
Good. You, man?
Rosemary Chambers Peg invited me, Dennis, and I'm a retired educator, and I'm trying to learn.
Very nice.
Beverly Poole, friend of Peg. This is all new to me, so I'm here. Time to learn.
Well, I'm glad you came.
Bruce Cartagena, retired Air Force, retired network engineer. Basically, I guess I'm a home entrepreneur. Put my hands in a lot of things. Been in crypto for about 8 months. I'm a live roadkill from BitConnect. I survived it because I got in early enough, and then I got my money out of it to put into alts. I like technical analysis. That's how I got involved here, to learn a little bit more trading aspect of it. I'm an IOTA fan, Bitcoin holder, Litecoin, and Ethereum, but I kept taking money out of there to go somewhere else. So now I'm holding Electronium, which is my baby. I'm hoping good things for that guy. And Digibytes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My name is Matthew. I have a limo service here in Estero, and I've been coming to these meetings to learn as much as possible. I have all the main coins, and I got into IOTA, Tron, and Digibyte as well, which I love. Definitely check out Digibyte. And also Dimecoin is one that's been on the uptrend. Even now that the markets are down, I'm still up a good amount. So definitely do your research and keep learning.
Tron, huh?
On the Tron train.
Trons.
I'm Jeremy Barnett, Vice President for BitcoinCrypto.News. Also do the video and web design. Got pretty much the top 10 cryptos and handful of altcoins, and just waiting for them to go back up, cash out, make some money, and retire. That's my thing.
I'm Marie Highland.
Yeah.
I have Naples Olive Oil Company in Naples, and I will be getting on this site to accept Bitcoin, and I do accept Bitcoin. Anybody who wants olive oil and foodie stuff that I carry. And I have Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I want to get into I want to do trading with Bitch.
I'm gonna get you on the schedule, I promise.
And do some other things. I'm going to check these things out. So thank you.
Great. Very cool. Research.
I'm John Mina. I'm a podiatrist. If I find that there's a demand, I will correct your feet for crypto. I got into Bitcoin 4 years ago, and now I'm into a smattering of the top 12. My investment's been based on the recommendations of these gentlemen. On the good side, they all went up. On the realistic side, when they were recommending, everything went up. So, but I'm very happy with the advice that I've gotten here. Also, I have information I can bring later after the meeting. A friend of mine is involved in a startup called Bluecoin. Bluecoin will be a crypto that can be utilized through Bluetooth, and will be very useful in places in the world where they don't have ubiquitous Wi-Fi. And so if anybody's interested in learning about that and getting in the ICO, I have information about that.
Very cool. Bluecoin. Interesting. And for you, sir?
I'm John Young. Was running a training center, teaching first aid, CPR, and other medical courses over in Kuwait. So I was there for 7 years, just got back. And I guess I've been in crypto since last June. And right now I'm holding Ethereum, Ripple, and EOS.
And EOS.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. And you, sir?
Hi, I'm James Malazzo. I've been in crypto since October, and I have a pool service company.
Mike?
Mike Buja. I'm an SAP, which is an Enterprise Resource Planning Project Manager. I bought my first Bitcoin on January 27th, 2014 at 8:34 a.m. for $836 and was charged $8.43 based on Rob's advice. I've been in crypto since then, but I sold a lot of my Bitcoin, but now have reinvested in actually a lot of the altcoins, and I have a Bitcoin IRA. I think they presented here, and yeah, a lot of Ethereum and Ripple is probably my most invested in.
How's your experience with Bitcoin IRA?
Well, they require a minimum investment of $25,000. They take about a $4,500 fee to set up. But and their market, when you go to their website, their prices aren't instantaneously updated. So I find it a little frustrating because I know it's behind the market or most of the time. But in the way that they set it up, and you know, it was able. I had an IRA sitting there. I was making certain, you know, what 20-some percent. The market's been going good, but I've already made 300% in the matter of 8 months. Or not even. Yeah.
So it's good.
So yeah, very good. So yeah, if you have an IRA and you want to, you know, put it into Bitcoin, or I think they have about 6 or 7 coins available. You can do that.
With the 25,000 it took to start, did that include their fee?
Yes. So yeah, I had about 20. I had an IRA sitting there, and I moved it in. I had about 27,000 in it, and they, it took about 4,500. So I had about 23 that's invested.
So yeah, we did record that call, by the way, and we put it on our website, so you guys can see it over and over with that interview for the Bitcoin IRA folks. So it's on BitcoinCrypto.News on the tab there to see more about it.
And one thing is good is that because it's an IRA and it's sitting there, it's not tied to Coinbase or anything. I let it sit there, so you know it's an asset that I hope to retire on with a lot of money. Hopefully.
Very cool. And you, sir?
My name is Cody Williams. I'm a heavy equipment operator with the city of Cape Coral. And the top 3 that I have right now is Ripple, Tron, and Seller.
All 3 very good. And you, sir?
My name is William Bier. I'm a free agent. I'm here training, getting ready for SWFL and NFL tryouts. I got introduced to Bitcoin in 2013. My favorite altcoins, BAT, EOS, Stellar, all he knows. In terms of, I do some mining as well. I trade currencies and commodities, and I love Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum.
You're gonna retire early.
That's awesome, man.
Gotta have that backup plan.
Yeah, an EOS guy too, huh? And what turned you on to EOS? What turned you on to EOS?
I have a lot of friends that, like I said, I got into their team, so you know the altcoins that are
the trends. Okay, cool. For you, sir?
My name is Elijah Zamet. I'm a day trader, trade forex, trade commodity market. And currently I'm holding most of the top 10 as well, a lot of Ethereum. I do like Ripple as well.
Very cool. Nice.
My name is Walter Watson. I was previously a banker at Wells Fargo for 3 years. Graduated at FGCU, business finance major. Currently, I own a business, Watson's Moving Company. I'm also a professional commodities trader. So I do trade gold, silver, and oil pretty heavily. I've been invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin for a little over a year now. Just playing the long-term game. I'm also in the mining industry. We got a mining operation set up.
Wow, that's great.
So,
what are you guys mining?
We're mining Ethereum, Monero, Dash, profitable coins, of course. So, you know, Bitcoin is not profitable to mine with our scale and our equipment. So for us, it doesn't make sense to mine Bitcoin at the moment. Right. So we're accumulating Ethereum for the long term. At this point, based on the current market.
Nice. Yeah, Mike's here, a miner too. So pick your brain.
Hi, my name is Vishal, and I work in construction. In case if any one of you have seen that big crane at Gulf Coast Medical Center, that's us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. We see you over there.
Yeah. And I joined this group right after Thanksgiving. That's when I got into cryptocurrency. Majorly into Ethereum, just a little bit on side for Ripple, Cardano, IOTA. I'm forgetting them. Excellent.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Very cool. For you, sir.
I'm Stevie Baldwin, blue-collar working musician. I distribute Canadian water machines, and sometimes I do construction work. And I'm here with my buddy Ken. I just bought 1,530 Tron. Crypterium I'm getting next, and any coins have to do with music publishing or publishing. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. There's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ken.
My name's Ken Howard. I'm a retired heating, ventilating, and air conditioning contractor from up in the DC area. I hold all my licenses up in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. I sold my heating and air conditioning company. Retired full-time down here. I also do some consulting work, mechanical engineer. I also wrote a book in 2013 on sustainable and green technology, socially responsible. Because that's just my line. I like socially responsible. That's what kind of got me into the whole, Bitcoin and blockchain thing. I really think it has a big push toward helping our world become a better place. So I got involved with this group early. One of the earlier adapters. When did we start, Rob? About 4 years ago?
Yeah, we started in 2014. Yeah.
I got a quick funny story on that. So I being an early adapter and a retiree with not a lot of money, I'm just a steady income. I was buying a fair amount of Bitcoin back then because it was low. And at one, I estimate now I lost over $20 million of Bitcoin. But don't feel as bad for me because I learned my lesson. I lost it through Mt. Gox, CEX, and did some hyper loans also. But I learned my lesson from that. I've come back strong, and basically now I'm just diversifying, like Clifford said, into multiple exchanges. I'm leaving the mining up to you professionals. I was doing cloud mining, that's what you guys are doing. So, and basically right now, I'm holding 5 coins. I'm holding Tron, which I'm very bullish on. It's a gaming technology. I really like the CEO of that company. His name is Justin Sun. He has been written up in Forbes magazine, top 30 under 30 twice, 2 years in a row, in 2015 and 2017. He's a major player in the world. He actually was handpicked by Mr. Jack Ma, who started the largest online retailer in the world, Alibaba. And he chose him as his protege out of all the people. So I really like that coin a lot. It's a long-term project for me. I'm not a trader. I like to hodl, buy and hold. So I found out from the first time getting involved in Bitcoin, if I had just done that, I would have, So, and then I own Singularity. I really like Singularity Net a lot. It's a long-term project for me. I like the whole idea of AI and blockchain, as this gentleman over here mentioned. Deep Brain Chain, other AI. Crypterium was mentioned earlier. Really great. I own 2 ICOs. One was Crypterium, and another was Iongo. Gentleman mentioned Bluetooth. Crypterium, what's cool about that is, real quick, is it's going to basically eliminate the foreign exchange markets, and banking. It'll make it possible for it to go in and out of any crypto or any fiat currency in the world instantly, peer-to-peer. Yeah. And they're going to do a great, the CEO tomorrow is going to do a great webinar on that. So I'm really excited about that. Iongo, real quick, on the Bluetooth. Iongo is basically going to make it possible for 3.9 billion people in the world to have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
That is awesome. Well, thank you.
Sorry I took so long.
No, it's very interesting to find out what everybody's invested in right now. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mike Chandler because he's going to talk a little bit about some of the advanced stuff. You ready, buddy?
Sure.
Okay, great. Maybe we should have an intermission. Do you want a quick intermission? Everybody take a little bit of a break.
Sure.
Stretch your legs, relax, and then in 10 minutes, come back. Don't worry, I have plenty of time to talk about all kinds of crypto stuff. But before we do that, we took a short break, and now I just want to thank the VJ from Endeavor
for allowing us to come to this space because it's really awesome space. So, just want to tell us a little bit about what's happening here.
Yes, so I'm BJ. This is my place, Endeavor. I'm the CEO and founder of this place. So we do shared workspace. We do co-working, private offices. You do not have to be a freelancer or a startup company to work out of a space like this. We actually have national level companies that work in this space every day. So a common misconception that we're starting to realize that the locals around here, they hear the word co-working, people don't really know what that is. So for 18, I've put a mission out to get that education out there that you don't actually need to be freelancer or startup to work in a space like this. Everything we do is month to month. We also have certain things that we do where you don't have to be a member here. But we love having this group. You guys always have a good turnout and it seems like a lot of good energy. So thanks for coming here. And I'll leave you one more thing. This month, February 15th, if you are interested to work out of a co-working space or just want to see what it's like, on the 15th, it's a Thursday, we're opening the space up for anyone to come in here and work out of here. So bring your laptop, bring your tablet, whatever you like to work with. Come in, enjoy the space, tap into our Wi-Fi, meet some of the members that work out of here every day. And then at the end of the day, if you've been here and you're doing the co-working day with us, we're actually going to have a party. So we're going to have food and drinks, have a really good time and network a little bit. So I'll invite you guys all out for that as well if you'd like to join us for that. But you guys go ahead and finish your program. And
so it's February the 15th. February at what time?
We open at 8:30.
So you're all day.
Yeah, you can work
all day party.
Yeah, we can show up after lunch. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Awesome. All right, good. Thanks, BJ. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for joining here for the advanced group. Normally we'll go to another room. We're going to stay in this room here and try to go through as much stuff as possible. So maybe some little duplicate stuff in here, but Rob's going to go after me. He's going to do the basic, the top 10, and go through some of that. So the current top 10, which is always very interesting. So stick around if you want to listen to that also. But this is a group here where we want to kind of hit on a little deeper dive into the crypto world and just how to get on Coinbase and how to set up your money exchange. So typically we have an audience which is already in the system and already trading, and we're kind of looking at deeper dive into what ways can you make money in crypto. And there's more ways of making money in crypto than just trading or just investing. When I say investing, that's what most people start out with is investing, including myself. And by show of hands, who's all currently investing in crypto? Majority of everybody in the room, some way or another. As you see, there's it's a fun industry. It goes all over the place, and it's really can be very volatile, but it can also be very profitable. Long-term investing it's high risk. It's just like any other investment you do in the regular stock market, but this is in cryptocurrency. It is classified as a high-risk asset on there. There's trading, which is short-term. There's a lot of different pros and cons to that. Is anybody in here day trading right now? Or week? I like to say I like the day trade weekly. That's not really day trade. I like the day trade whenever I'm scared to death and want to get out of something. So you are day traders? Yeah. Anybody else in here? Okay, I got some day traders in here. It's fun. You got to stare at a computer screen a lot, and it'll make you go blind. But I love it. I got 3 screens, and sometimes when I'm working, I'm like, trying to day trade and stuff, and multitask. It's really tough. But short-term taxes, that's one thing that I'm just realizing out of 2017 is I did day trade. I had some pretty good gains in 2017. But now I'm like, oh crap, I should have kept it. I actually ended up buying it right back. From what I understand, that creates a taxable event, even if you go back in it. So you got to be out of it 30 days, is my understanding. Talk to a tax accountant. I am not an advisor, financial investor, or a tax accountant. I'm just kind of saying what I do and what I'm trying to learn myself. So sometimes I do that so I can see if they raise their hand that actually knows how to do that. But, if you go back into it, you might pay taxes on it. So short-term trading that's some of the downfalls of it. The upfalls of trading, day trading also is you can
you can get a lot of signals. This is a very unregulated market, and you can get a lot of signals sometimes from looking at different exchanges, and you can see that Bitcoin price on one exchange might be dropping 20, 30%. It's still holding on another exchange, and if you happen to be in that exchange, it might be a good idea to get out for a little bit. But then, from what my experience is, as soon as you do that, it goes right back up. So you miss out. So I don't like day trading. Put it that way. It's too volatile for me because it can go down. Like the other day, Bitcoin dropped down to. I mean, today Bitcoin was down to like $8,000, $8,800 or something like that.
Right now,
89.88. It's hit that like 3 times in the last day, and it's gone back up to like $9,500. So it's really volatile. I mean, that's just a 10% swing. I guess the stock market does that. At least Amazon and Facebook did that in the last few days. But mining is another way to make money at that. Is there any miners in here? Got 3 miners over there. I'm a miner. I love mining. One reason I love mining is when the market does have its volatility, you make money regardless. The way mining works, I'm just kind of give a brief little quick dive into mining. Mining it was real confusing to me when I first started looking at it. But I'm a computer geek. I love this stuff, so I started looking into it because I really want to have a fun hobby. Mining is basically processing the transactions. So I like to look at it from 30,000 foot view. What are we doing? Well, we're processing financial transactions around the world. What does that mean? Well, Chase and Bank of America, if you go to any city, they got a big tall building that's got their name above it. And they got lots of offices in there. They have lots of servers that are built by engineers that create ATM networks and all kinds of other networks that are very secure. And they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars invested just in the hardware. A lot of that hardware is 10, 20 years ago. That's just the hardware aspect of it. They have new stuff too, don't get me wrong. But point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of infrastructure there that runs and makes all these transactions happen. Same thing for Visa and MasterCard. There's a big network there in those different organizations. The blockchain is basically a decentralized organization. What Satoshi Nakamoto invented back in 2008 when he wrote the paper was, let's take something that in software program that we can duplicate, anybody can download and be part of the network. And here's how it's going to work. And that's kind of how the miners came up. And it's evolved a little bit over the years. But the blockchain is you basically download, if you want to mine, you get a computer. It's got to have a graphical processor in it, GPU. The faster it is, the better it is. You can CPU mine, which is entry level. You can get doing that. Sometimes it's not as profitable enough to pay for electricity, but you've got to research that. And those processors, when you put them in a computer, hook up to what they call algorithms or software. And they hook up to the software. That software is just mainly a computer program that says, hello, blockchain, I'm going to process a transaction. Here's Ken, he's sitting $100 over here. The software just says, it goes, looks at the queue and says, what transactions are there to process? Here's a transaction. What is this transaction? This is an address, a 64-bit public address that is Ken's or whoever's over here. He's transferring $100 over here, and it does some different transactions to verify that. Make sure the money's there, make sure they can't double spend it. It puts it, that ledger's just, the blockchain is just an Excel spreadsheet, basically. It puts it in that Excel spreadsheet on the blockchain, and then it sits there and it confirms that transaction. Yes, that transaction is correct. He had the money, it's in this address, we transferred it properly, and here's the ledger. That transaction sits there until each network's different. Some networks require 6 confirmations. It requires 6 miners to confirm the same transaction. And then it's called consensus, to where everybody agrees on the transaction is correct. And then once it gets to the number of verifications per the network, it locks it down. It's solid, it didn't block it. It molds into the block forever. They do that by what they call cryptography, which is closing the block with a hash. In other words, let me know exactly what that is because I have a hard time explaining it. The block is just a thing of information, and when they lock it down, that cryptography adds up all the ones and zeros in that block and makes a hash. That hash is basically, it's kind of like a code. It's like a barcode. That one barcode equals every letter in that block. So if somebody changes a period in the block, it changes the whole hash. Now, the cool thing about a block, you can put a word in there, hello. it'll create a hash. So that hash equals those exact ones and zeros, or the binary numbers that are in that block. It's kind of complicated, but once it's there now, if you put the videos that I saw, is you can put as many letters or as much information in that block as you can up to filling the block up, and that hash will change just by the numbers. The amount of different combinations it can have in that hash is equivalent to, what is it, like 200 billion, trillion, gazillion, billion transactions. In other words, you can never have the same hash based off the number of letters in there. It can never be the same. The reason it takes so much power to do that is you got to calculate that. Once they lock a block down, they have to figure out the nonce to that. That's about the limit of my expertise on there. The nonce is a number that adds up to the end of the hash and makes the hash blocked. Then they take that number and put it in the next block. So that's what begins the next block. So that's what ties the blockchain together, is that little nonce. They put the next block, they add information to that, and then when that block gets full, they figure out another nonce, and that locks that block, and they take that little number and put it in the next block. So if somebody changes a period down here, or somebody changes it, puts another zero on your $100 you took out, think like 1,000, that actually changes the hash of this block, which changes the nonce of that one, which changes the hash of this one, changes the nonce of that, all the way to the end of the block. So if somebody tries to change something from 4 years ago, it will change the entire line, and the network then knows, the algorithm that I'm running then knows that, hey, that block doesn't match the other 10,000 blocks out there. Let's kick it out of the system. Let's start it over. So that's kind of the technical aspect of it. That's what miners do. That's what the software does. It helps to keep that going. So does everybody understand that? Okay, I'll stop there. That's mining. This was the advanced section. So operating and staking. That's another way of making money in this industry. So besides mining, we'll get into more of that later if you want to know. If you don't, take a break and come back when Rob comes up. But I love mining. It's real technical, so I love bouncing ideas, and I learned something in this group too. But, staking is another way of doing it. That's where a lot of the coins are going to, is into staking. I'm not a real big fan of it, but those who don't know, Ethereum's going to staking. Ethereum's a big player. They're $110 billion market cap of the market. Bitcoin was 107 billion as of this morning, probably 120 now. But Bitcoin uses mining. They use ANSI miners, which are integrated circuit miners. They're a little more expensive, a little more technical, a little more higher hash rates, a little more powerful. Ethereum uses GPU. That's what I do. I do both actually, but they use GPU. Now, staking is another way you can make money, and I'm going to get into that here in the next few things here. But staking is what Ethereum's going to. Vitalik, I watched a video of him this morning where they're all kind of sitting back right now, scratching their head, going, guys, what did he create? What did Satoshi create here? All the mining power that Bitcoin absorbs is combined is more power than it was like 15 countries combined. Yeah. So it's a huge amount of power. And they're looking at it, well, if it's right here, it's going to here. If it needs to go up to here, it's going to take more power to do that than half the world's whole economy. So they're kind of thinking different ways of doing it. And that's what a lot of the coins are going to, is what they call staking. Long story short, I won't get into the technical stuff because I could for hours. Staking is basically saying, how can we have consensus on the network, which is basically everybody agreeing on everything without causing problems, without having all this mining power. So a lot of things are going to staking, where you can take your coins and you can stake them, kind of like put them in a CD. And you can say, okay, well, I'm going to stake them in here, and I'm going to stake them on my little computer here and run the wallet. And a lot of them are doing it inside their wallet. You can stake your coins, and if you have, 1,000 coins or whatever, and it's worth $1,000, then they'll let you stake on their network, and they pay you a certain amount for solving the mining problems. It's a different mounting algorithm, but it's less intense. And the reason they do that is because they want you to stake money on there, and then they'll let you mine a certain amount of transactions relevant to your stake. Because what they want to do is, if you're really smart and you're hacking it and you're cheating the system, you find a way to cheat the system, you have a skin in the game. So then they say, no, we see what you're doing. You're falsifying transactions, and you're going to lose your stake. So it gets away from the cryptography world, which is the, can't fake it. It's foolproof. It takes a lot of energy. They're going to the staking side where you can stake your money and you can basically get an interest off it. So that's still developing right now. That's a little further down the road. You could do it now in a couple different coins, but it's still, Ethereum was planning on doing it last October when they launched their Metropolis update, but it still hasn't figured it out. They're developing the Lightning Network for Bitcoin, and it's going on right now. There's 260 nodes on the network, which is way above schedule, but it's still nowhere near to completion. That's a staking arena. Ethereum is building the Plasma network, and when I say this, I'm digging real deep into it. This is something that's coming out a year down the road, 2 years down the road, and as the stuff comes out, it's going to change the whole way the whole world works. This is stuff that's been working on the background. They're calling them second layer networks. The problem with Bitcoin is it's slow. Anybody had any Bitcoin transactions transferred in the last? Right now it's not that bad, but back when it was booming a month ago and everything was at 18, 19,000, it would take you 6-8 hours to do a transfer on the Bitcoin. But that's just not really economical where they want to go. So the Lightning Network is coming out. It's still learning. Everybody's still learning that. It's proof of stake is what they call it. Plasma is in development. They're actually working on it now. There's developers all around the world in different little groups. It's so cool with the way they develop this stuff now. It's just been a second because I think it's awesome. Back in the days when I was thinking of business and stuff like that, I was scared to death. Oh, I don't want to talk about it because someone's just steal my idea, and I'm going to get a patent, and I'm going to do this here, and get my trademarks, do this up here, and it's going to be mine. And the way they're developing these networks is like an open public network. You can get on their blogs, you can get on their chats. I watched one this morning, and they're like, yeah, I think this might work. Let's try this. You build this way, you build this way, you build this way. Let's get back together in 2 months and see which one works the best. Because it's an open network, nobody owns it. Everybody's contributing to the mother thing, and they're all investing in their own way. And it works. It's really cool. So Plasma is being developed. It's in progress right now. It's a interoperability with all blockchains. I'm not really sure. Does anybody know anything about Plasma?
A little bit.
It's just at the beginning, so they don't even know what it is. But it's the idea with Ethereum is they want to get to the Visa and MasterCard level of transactions where they can process 10, 20, 30,000 transactions a second. Until they do that, they can't really take on Visa and MasterCard and really blow what they're doing. So that's the ultimate goal. When they do that, it's gonna be amazing. So I'm gonna move on to that. Shameless plug. While I'm here, this is our advertising for our store here. For those who don't know, we are all kind of a volunteer organization right now. We are trying to find some way to monetize stuff. Jeremy set up a really cool site for us, which is really cool to get some gear. I'm going to show that real quick here. I think I got it up here. If you love shirts and you love crypto world, go to our site and you can buy some shirts there and get some cool stuff and help support the whole economy of the crypto world. So it's BitcoinCrypto.News.
Mike?
Yeah.
Hey, so real quick,
yeah.
But it's back to the mining and hash and all that. So what about like Hashgraph and also like Tangle? There's some other ones coming too.
I'll get to that here.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to.
No, you're. I got a real quick thing. Let's see if this audio comes out here, just to because I know we had somebody here that said he wasn't here for cryptocurrency. He was here for blockchain. I'm going to do a real quick video on this, just to kind of bring some people up to speed on the blockchain, if it plays.
Actually counted.
Can you all hear that?
Someone online. How do you know they're who they say they are? When you buy coffee that's labeled fair trade, what makes you so certain of its origin? To be sure, really sure, about any of those questions, you need a system where records can be stored, facts can be verified by anyone, and security is guaranteed. That way, no one could cheat the system by editing records, because everyone using the system would be watching. Systems like this are on the horizon, and the software that powers them is called a blockchain. Blockchains store information across a network of personal computers, making them not just decentralized, but distributed. This means no central company or person owns the system, yet everyone can use it and help run it. This is important because it means it's difficult for any one person to take down the network or corrupt it. The The people who run the system use their computer to hold bundles of records submitted by others, known as blocks, in a chronological chain. The blockchain uses a form of math called cryptography to ensure that records can't be counterfeited or changed by anyone else. You've probably heard of the blockchain's first killer app, a form of digital cash called Bitcoin that you can send to anyone, even a complete stranger. Bitcoin is different from credit cards, PayPal, or other ways to send money because there isn't a bank or financial middleman involved. Instead, people from all over the world help move the digital money by validating others' Bitcoin transactions with their personal computers, earning a small fee in the process. Bitcoin uses the blockchain by tracking records of ownership over this digital cash, so only one person can be the owner at a time, and the cash can't be spent twice, like counterfeit money in the physical world can. But Bitcoin is just the beginning for blockchains. In the future, blockchains that manage and verify online data could enable us to launch companies that are entirely run by algorithms, making self-driving cars safer, help us protect our online identities, and even track the billions of devices on the Internet of Things. These innovations will change our lives forever, and it's all just beginning. To learn more about the urgent future of the blockchain, please visit iftf.org/blockchainfutureslab.
Alrighty, I felt that video was kind of important to kind of show, because there's a lot of new people in here. Blockchain and this whole movement is not just Bitcoin. That's the beginning, but there's so much more coming out there, and so many other ways to monetize and make money of that. So as we go through the little thing here, what is Bitcoin? Current issues of blockchain or Bitcoin. Pros, it's a great way of trading assets worldwide. This is just real quick, brief overview. They're open source, they're decentralized. I mean, decentralized meaning is most of them are decentralized, some are not, which you need to know because sometimes you're investing in something that's centralized. If something happens to that company, you lose your investment. The cons, transaction times, with the current network I'm saying is the current transaction times, even with Ethereum, with everybody, as it gets more popular, it starts hitting more mainstream. And those who've been here in the last 3 or 4 months, you all seen a couple big spikes. And when it got real big, and when the market cap was up to 150 billion, excuse me, there was a lot of transactions going on. Miners like me, when we looked at the queue and you saw a transaction to be had or to be processed, well, there was, you just couldn't, the network couldn't handle it because it was so many. It would take us 8-10 hours just to catch up. If you treat a transaction, that's why your transaction in Bitcoin took so long, because all the miners are running full speed, churning those transactions, and they were just taking the bottom ones. And Ethereum's got a way to where you can calculate the gas on there. If you do a transfer and you go to the advanced setting on Ethereum, you can change the gas price. Gas is the fee you paid to do the transaction. So if you go to the maximum gas price, well, if you put that transaction in the queue, and I see it, and I'm making 10 cents on this one, and I'm making 75 cents on this one, well, hopefully I'm going to figure out how to grab this one and not waste my time on that one. So that's what by increasing the gas fee. So if you're sitting there and you're selling a house to your realtor over here, and you want to make sure this transaction goes through, and the blockchain is real busy, and the person sitting right in front of you, well, you want to bump that gas up there. You want to spend extra $5 or $10 to make it happen in the next 2 minutes. You're going to do that. They give you the ability to do that on the network. So that's one second here.
No, that's free.
All right. Right now, the world kind of is looking at some different blockchains on there. Bitcoin, that was the original one. Everybody knows about that. It's awesome. It's going up. It's gone down. And now it's down. Ethereum. Went to the Miami Blockchain Conference out in Miami last week. It's amazing how many companies have started and have launched coins, and almost all of them, 80% of them are using the Ethereum blockchain. For those who don't know much about Ethereum, the talent guru, he was the editor of Bitcoin magazine, and I believe he was some position in that for like 5 years. I watched Bitcoin go up. He's 21 years old now, I think, 19, 20, something like that. He's real young, and he saw that, and he saw a lot of opportunity. Well, why don't they do it this way? Why don't they do it this way? Why don't they do it that way? So they actually, he came to a meetup like this and started getting followers, and they launched what they call Ethereum. He got some big investors, including Bill Gates, and got a huge investment. And they're building the Ethereum network. When they built it the same as the Bitcoin network, but also put some other additions on it to where you can actually create sub-tokens and sub-chains on there. It's called an ERC20 token. And that's what a lot of these other coins are making. You ever hear the term ERC20? It's on the Ethereum blockchain. And they're building that right now in the background. They're still talking a year or 2 years out before it really starts to get to what its vision is. But they're talking about Internet 3.0, 2.0, whatever you call it. The next thing where there's going to be what they call DApps, digital contracts on the blockchain that can do all kinds of things. And we'll see those come up as they go a little bit longer. I'll get into more of that later. Also, there's the IOTA, which is a new chain. It's not really a blockchain, but if you heard me talk about the Bitcoin and the transactions and the queue and the problem with the speed of processing those transactions, it's just not built to do. It's built to do what like 4 transactions a second or something like that. It's not a whole big volume, so it'll right now it will not do the speed of Visa and MasterCard, which is kind of like the goal everybody wants to get to. Now they're working on the Lightning Network, which we'll get to later, which is supposed to help that and address that. Everybody's trying to fix the problem. Ethereum's got a lot faster. It does a couple hundred or something. I may know the number on Ethereum for a second. 15. It's more, but it's not the 10 million or 10,000 or whatever per second. The IOTA looked at it a different way. They said, well, how can we address this problem in a way? David Storm, David, we'll call him David for now. Straight guy. He invented the IOTA network, from my understanding. And the technology is basically, well, instead of a blockchain, let's create a software program. And this is my paraphrasing because I'm not a full expert on this yet. Anyway, let's create a software program just like the Ethereum and Bitcoin does. When they download wallets and they have miners do their transactions, how can we approach it at a different angle? They said, well, let's download a wallet, a computer program, let's put the software in that. So when my IOTA node or wallet, if I transfer money to Jeremy, I have to verify 2 of the transactions myself. So instead of sending that transaction to the blockchain and let miners all over the world verify it, do all the consensus and make sure it's right, I do it on my computer. I don't do mine, I have to do 2 others. So in theory, once everybody starts using the IOTA network, then there'll be all kinds of people, miners, basically. They're not called miners, they're called processors or something, but people that process transactions. So the bigger it gets, the faster it gets. And that's the kind of idea behind IOTA. IOTA is trying to do transactions on the network, on their own network, but they're attacking the Internet of Things. So the Tesla cars, the driving around for batteries, they can charge, you pull in a station there, and the network automatically knows when you plug up and how much to charge you for the electricity. Any type of transactions, if you have a machine that you put on a sling line, instead of that factory buying the machine, you can charge them per widget you make in real time. It'll know, and they can build stuff on demand. The world is endless on the possibilities on that side, because the transaction fees, unlike in the Bitcoin and Ethereum world, where you pay a gas or a fee to do the transaction and pay the miners, in the IOTA world, your benefit of processing the transaction is getting your own transaction processed. So when you're part of the network, you're getting benefit by there's no charge. So they're not paying miners like they do have to do all this stuff here. So I'm not sure if that'll work or not, but it sounds like they got it figured out. So we'll see how it works over the next couple of years. IOTA is a
sorry, I have to ask. What about the trust? If I'm a bad verifier of 2 accounts, or I'm not sure if
that's a very good thing. That's very good. Yeah, I think it probably has to be, if you have to verify 2 transactions, I think it still got to have multiple consensus from other computers to verify the transaction too. And that's a very good question. I don't know enough about that to answer that question, but something we'll have to research and understand. But right now, I'm kind of planting the seed out there. That's another network that's coming online. It's besides the Ethereum and IOTA, or excuse me, Ethereum and Bitcoin. And there's a couple more. But moving on, this is how we make money. I Other than investing on IOTA, I really don't know.
Just to touch on that.
Yes.
A lot of the access on the Tango network is not necessarily you having to do anything. It's just the processor on your computer. So you don't necessarily have to choose a transaction. It automatically chooses it, but just uses a portion of your processor to run the other two transactions in conjunction with as a result of the transaction you want.
Right, but I can see this being kind of, I don't know how it's possible, but a virus kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Well, if it's an automatic side, you can really maliciously tag something onto it and create something really bad very quickly.
The verification process is actually splitting up the actual code into 3 different things. So you actually need 3. The way Tango works is it's actually partial of the verification of one transaction. So you can't really mess with it. And we'll talk a little bit about it in detail. And we're lucky here in Southwest Florida because the IOTA people actually came to our meetup and they're coming back. So we can look forward to seeing them in March, and they'll be giving us a presentation on IOTA. And they're very into Tangle and anti-blockchain.
Yes.
They're passionate. Yes.
IOTA's the best blockchain in the world. Real quick, we'll definitely get to some of that. But I do want to hit this. This is more of a personal level for this as an educator and trying to lead a group. I want to make sure I hit on some of this stuff on security warnings because I'm in a lot of different chat rooms and a lot of different groups, and I've watched literally hundreds of videos on different chains and things. One thing that I keep seeing come up over and over again is theft of tokens and people, they lost all their money. And a couple of security warnings there as we dive deeper into this stuff here. Always be careful on anytime you are trying to sign up for a new site or setting up or whatever, they should never ask for your password for your coins or your private key. And also one thing on the IOTA network, which just hit about 2 weeks ago, started hitting the prices and everything, was there was a bunch of, if you've ever downloaded an IOTA wallet or any wallets, a lot of times they require you to create a passphrase, which is 20 words, random words, and you save it. And they can be any letters long or whatever. Basically what that does, it creates a key. It converts that to hash, and that's your key. And they want you to save those, print them off, write them down. They don't want you to print them off. They want you to write them down offline. And that's, if you write them down in your office, in your home, or whatever, and stick it in a drawer, nobody can ever get to that unless they break your house. If you save it on your computer, somebody steals your computer, then they can get on it. So that's like the ultimate way to be safe. There's some really smart people out there that really, I always curse in this world. They were, it's really difficult to do 20 words and write it down, so people are naturally lazy. So they Google it, and here's a paraphrase generator. IOTA passcode generator. And thousands of people found those Googles and like, hey, great, I don't want to make up 20 words myself. I'll just press this button and copy and paste. Well, they did that, and now their wallets are all drained 2 weeks later because the generator not only made the key for them, or made 20 passcodes for them, they kept a copy in their country or whatever, and they built that up until they saw enough money out there, then they started draining wallets. So long story short, don't be lazy. Don't try anything you do online in this world here. Anywhere, it's kind of like don't go to a passport, don't go to a website that says I'll generate your chase.com password for you. That's probably not a good idea. Same thing in the crypto world. Don't do that. Never give out your private key. If you're talking to people on the support line, there's a lot of people out there that will help you with your accounts on these fraudulent websites. And don't give them your key. They don't need it. They have no reason whatsoever for it. I saw a couple places, wallets that was signing up for that asking for the key. If you want to do that, you'll have to give your key to import your wallet in there, but I don't really trust that either because a lot of times you can create a wallet somewhere on the blockchain and keep the key offline. And then if you want to import it into a wallet, usually you can import any Ethereum address into a wallet. You have to put your key in there. Be real cautious about that, but you can do that. And keeping your money on the exchanges. I'm the worst thing at this. I got most of my funds on exchanges, but the advice strongly is not to keep your money in exchanges because that's putting your money in other people's hands, especially the exchanges in China or South Korea or something, and they're talking about shutting them down or whatever. I don't want to have to call the South Korean government and say, I got some money stuck in your exchange. Can you please send it to me? It's probably not going to happen. So be careful about that. Trade with it. Don't leave it on there long term. You need to put it back offline. When I say create an offline wallet, it's your best way to do that. I'm the worst at it. Yeah, go ahead.
Are there wallets that support IOTA?
The IOTA wallet.
Website.
There's a Apple wallet on there, but I don't think it's certified. But go to the website, download. They're still having problems with it, but a lot of the problems that people are having with wallets, just so you guys all know, a lot of times they require you to download the full node, and what that means is you got to download the whole blockchain. So if you download the whole blockchain on Ethereum, it's 56 gigabytes. Well, my computer's got 128 gigabyte hard drive, so that's a lot of space. I don't have the space to put on my laptop. So if you have a big computer, a new computer might have a 2 or 3 terabyte hard drive, no big deal whatsoever. If you're buying a computer, make sure you buy a big one, because if you need to download the wallet, you're going to download the whole blockchain on there. Once it's downloaded, then your money syncs, and then it shows up. A lot of people were constantly posting on the forums, well, I downloaded the wallet, my money's not there, what happened, blah, blah, blah. Well, they didn't wait the 16 hours it takes to download the whole blockchain. So, you know, you got to kind of look out for that. But good question. That's IOTA. You still can't, if you buy IOTA, the only place you buy it now is on Binance. You still can't, I can't get mine out of Binance. It says wallet disabled. So I'm waiting for to figure that out.
The main thing on Binance, it requires verification for it to have funds removed from that account. But they don't do it for every coin. So you'll have a brown circle with an exclamation point inside that, for those of you that have a Binance account. To get your account verified, you have to put your name, address, phone number inside Binance. Take a picture, write it on a piece of paper, the date, and I think it's Binance.com.
Yeah.
Right? So take a picture of that, send it to them. I think it was about either just over 24 hours. I think it was probably about 36 hours, we'll just say that number. They undid my account. I was able to get it in, but I was lazy, got a seed from the internet, and lost 45 IOTA.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing about it is it shows up in my account, then disappears. Shows up in my account, disappears. So I counted it as a loss, and maybe it'll sync and everything will clear out. But either way, I didn't do my
all
due
this stuff
diligence on that.
is the new frontier. So we're still learning this. There's no curve going on there, so it's an early investment. If you're not comfortable with you know when I say investing in it, I wouldn't really recommend anybody put all their money in right now.
Is there a class on that?
On what? Investing?
No. Horror stories.
Oh, we can start one. We got plenty of.
You'll be here for a week.
The main thing is, with regard to horror stories, there are a lot out there, all right, but there's also a lot of stories of winners, all right? The main thing is being impatient is one of the worst things you can do, all right? Rob can tell you a story of a gentleman that called him up, and his money didn't show up in his account like it was supposed to, or not was supposed to. So he found the number for Coinbase online, and it was a nice Asian gentleman on the other end of the line that said, "Hey, give me your private key, and I'll get everything out for you."
No, actually not his private key. He wanted to have access to his computer so he could log on.
So, yeah.
To help him.
Never do that.
Was over 20,000.
That's what I mean. They never do that. There should be a platform that never do that.
Yeah.
We can probably start one on that, but there's really so many. The easiest way to do it is talk or deal with somebody that's experienced. They can say, "Oh, I've done that before. Don't do that." Or I've heard of a guy that did that.
But it seems like there's a heck of a lot of confidence. Like you might know a sphere of stuff not to do, but next you, all three of you guys, I think you have a sphere of things you know not to do, you know not to do, you know not to do. There's got to be something together that says
It's this meetup.
Yeah.
It honestly is. We've all had horror stories. We've all lost money, and we don't want anybody else to do that. That's why we meet. That's why we talk. And if you ever have any questions, I mean, take our cards. That's our personal cell phones. So we'll be happy to steer you away from any drama.
Basically, if you want to go through a minefield, talk to the guy that has the path already through.
Yeah.
His path may be different from mine, but we both made it through.
My bad, question.
Yeah.
Something you mentioned about the private keys and not sharing them. When you have an account in it's a wallet. Wallet for my wallet, you still, you want to access it. You have to paste in your private key.
If you use a Ledger Nano though, it's got unpaid private keys. Right?
Oh, there's the paper wallets or something.
Yeah, the paper wallets. You gotta be careful when. Don't ever copy and paste what I've read. It's almost impossible to not do that. What I do on mine is I have a secret code which only I know, which I'm not going to tell you here, and I type those letters in the center of my private key a couple of different places. Then I copy and paste it. Once I get in there, I delete them because there's a lot of malware out there that you can download on a computer, not even know you have it, and it copies any copy you do. It saves it, sends it on the internet. So you can download stuff by opening a funny email or a funny story or some stupid meme that somebody sent you. It can have, or download something free. Anything free that you download has a malware. That's why it's free. That's my idea. But they put stuff on your thing, and then that's how they make money. Is they skim stuff off your computer. So if you can copy and paste your key on there, 95%, 99% chance you probably will never have a problem with it. But if there's 100 people in the room, somebody here is going to have a problem. So I recommend not doing it unless you. I like to say encrypt it yourself. So I encrypt all my stuff myself. I put my little codes in there, my phone number, whatever, in the middle of it. Then when you actually go to use it, you can delete that out of there and it works. But don't forget what you put in there. Smart.
What's your phone number?
It's on my card. All right. Any other questions for me?
Okay. New phone number or your old phone?
Right now, I'm going to kind of dive into what's happening right now in the last couple of days, just to kind of bring everything. I know this meeting's a little smaller than it was last time, because I know some people are probably picked off because of money in the market now. So what's going on in crypto right now? The graph, that's not the actual chart, but that's pretty close. You were going this is a diagram that I got off one of our chat groups. I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of like just a natural flow of the market there. If you see a market growing, if you see Amazon growing, or if you see Facebook growing, they grow at different levels. And the crypto world is a little bit different because they don't necessarily have quarterly earnings and different things. So they're a whole another different economy, but they still have investors that think rationally and irrationally the same way on there. And what you see a lot of times, and I'm going to get some graphs here in a minute, you see where Bitcoin stayed stagnant for sideways for a year or two, and then it would go up, and then it would come back down and stay, it bounces around all the place, but if you take that and average it all out, it's still increasing in a percentage. The market's still growing. Sometimes it can grow faster than it's actually the value is. And this is what, this little thing here, it starts to take off here. The first sell-off, people invest their money. And, a lot of times you invest your money, whether it's yourself individually, a lot of times people put their money in there, which we don't recommend them put the rent money in there. Or put their college savings in there, or whatever money in there. And they do that, and then it goes up, and they're like, well, hold on, I'm going to take it out. Whenever they get to that point of taking it out, the whole market starts to dip a little bit. And you'll see a little dip in there. They call that the bear trap. People start getting scared and things like that, and bring more attention to the market. Then gets a little media attention. Oh, Bitcoin's dropping 30%. Told you should never got there. It's part of Bitcoin. And then, or it starts going back up. It's got more media attention, and then it starts to really take off. It gets to be, up to where it's really, really high read enthusiasm. I got caught this with Tron the other day. Somebody on our chat group said, "Get in Tron, it's awesome." And I'm like, I get in, and I like my money. I go get in, my money goes up like times 10 almost. And I'm like, woohoo, I'm rich. I got like $40 now. But that's the best thing about crypto. You can talk like, I'm all in. I'm super happy to bring, I'm up 300%. I got $60 now. Nobody ever knows what you actually got it. But then it gets really super high. That's when you got to really think, is this really real? Is this really, is this actually value here? And well, if you overlay the Bitcoin map on there, they look very similar. If you overlay some other maps on there, it looks really, really similar. If you go on there, I'm not going to overlay the Bitcoin map on there, but it comes back down. But the whole point here is, if you look at this line here, it's still going up. It's still increasing in value on there. But it's a very interesting graph to look at, kind of overlay that with the Bitcoin. The next couple of graphs, what I'm going to do, I went over this in my advanced meeting last time, but it's still fun to look at. This is Bitcoin in 2011. It's less than $1 here. If you look at the whole year, which most of us were in there, including myself, I actually looked at it with our group guy in Naples, the technology group. There was, what was that guy's name? But he's one had some guy that was real big. He's like, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. We're like, what's Bitcoin? This is 2011, 2012. Regardless, it took off. And it went up a little bit. It went up to almost 20 or it went up to $30 there at the peak. And people were excited. They got a little media attention. It dropped up here and then it died back down. And then people forgot about it, went back to their everyday work. Moving on. If you look at this here, this is pretty neat here. It was down here at the bottom at like $7. You go to the next year, it's right around this thing here. It took off in January. Sure enough, it had a big dip in January, just like right now. It was stayed flat for a little bit and took back off. Went from $7 to a little bit, almost double, $14 in 2012. Then 2013, it's good media coverage, some good stuff take off later on in the year there. And if you look at this here, jumped up just like it did this year, up to almost over $1,000. I remember this is when we first started looking at it down there, excited anyway, in that one group. Then it died back off, and I can remember myself saying, so I'm glad I didn't get in that. Man, I wish I would have got in that. But it was $800 on there. So it had a rough year in 2000. This was 2014. You saw this graph. This might be 2008. Who knows? But it died back off. 2015, it's kind of did sideways a little bit. Went up to from $300 to under $500. So 2014 was a 15. 2016, $400 to $1,000. Pretty good increase. So in 2016, it started doing some fun stuff. Got a little more media attention. 2017. Oh no, here. 2017 through now, it was $800, almost up to $20,000. That's a huge jump. I'm investing. Not super heavily, but now I'm starting to look back at the other charts and some of these other coins, stuff like that. So they ramped up and they died back. It's a natural progression. And it's not because of technology. Well, the technology's had little hiccups, but it's not because of I don't know what it's because of, but it's dying back off now.
So what's the mean, you think, for Bitcoin?
Well, that's what I want to kind of talk about. Maybe it opens up for a little bit of discussion here. But for all those who are invested in Bitcoin, in other markets, it's kind of shimmering off right now. There was a report that came out 2 days ago about the FGCU or who some organization subpoenaed Tether, which is
that was SEC.
Which is Tether is another coin. You guys know about Tether? It's supposed to be backed by the U.S. dollar. Tether.org or .com or whatever. They created a coin called Tether, and the idea was, well, if you're in a coin and you're on exchange, a lot of times you can't convert back to U.S. dollar because they don't allow that. So they created a coin, which is kind of like the U.S. dollar, called U.S. Tether, UST. And you could convert to it, and it's always going to stay right around a dollar. And it's supposed to be backed by U.S. dollars.
Supposedly $870 billion.
Yeah.
Well, the whole deal. That's what
the Federal Reserve has money too.
Yeah, so well, that's the irony here. Now they're investigating, saying, well, you don't have enough money to back that Tether you issue, and there's rumors they're issuing it, just printing as much as they can, but I don't know if that's true. But they haven't released the audit. It's supposed to be released, I guess, by the end of the year. So it's a little scary, and that's put a little shake out in the market, because if they have been printing Tether to artificially inflate Bitcoin, there's some rumors on the chat rooms that's what's going on. I don't believe it, so I'll believe it if it happens. But I didn't believe Bitcoin either. Tether, that's one of the reasons there. So that's one of the reasons. Yes.
You had a comment? Oh, I was just making a joke. You said they came we're going to die, so
Not this soon. Not this soon.
Yeah, no, none of us.
Something else was added here is with Tether, they said it's too close to printing of U.S. dollars as well. So that's another aspect of that whole investigation.
Yeah, I thought that was like totally legal.
Only if you are against it. They have permission from the government to do it. So legalized monopoly. So yeah.
If you were to look at this chart here and look at that little graph, what a increase is. It's had a big run up here in the last few days. Now that's the if we look at the logarithmic chart, it's a little bit different, and I'll show that here in a minute. But this is the regular chart here that shows the growth on there. Which one is this here? This is So this is the total market cap of all the coins on there. So we were over $750 million, and that's one that I really gauged the market cap of coins and what that was until I went to the Miami conference and watched videos and things like that. And I wanted to know what market cap is. So understand that.
The price of the coin multiplied by the shares outstanding or the coins outstanding. That's
your market cap. So if you have a I actually launched a coin, and for those of you who know, I launched a coin. I said I was going to launch one for my yogurt store in Coconut Point, and I was going to test one out there. I launched one. I messed up when I launched it. I was going to have 1 million coins, and I ended up having 1,000. I didn't do the investment went right. So now it's called a YOMO coin. Now there's a yogurt mountain coin on the network. I'll sell it to once. It's only 1,000, so they got to be worth a lot of money. Real low supply. But anyway, the coin itself, I bought the first one for $1. So my market cap is $1. So, but the point being is, buy. The point is now. No, excuse me. I bought one for $1, so my market cap is $1,000. Okay. Now, if I sell one to Rob or for $100, guess what my market cap goes to? $100,000. So then, now we've got 2 coins sold. Now I'm worth $100,000. Okay. Now I sell one to you for $1,000. What's my market cap? $1 million. Okay, I'm loaded. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to start selling coins to the world out there. So in reality, what's the company really worth? It's only got $1 plus $100 plus $1,000. It's got $111 in the bank account, and its market cap's $1 million.
No, it sounds just like me.
So that's a little scary when you start looking at market caps. So you can't always judge how good a coin is by its market cap, because just because Tron was worth $8 or $12 billion at its peak doesn't really mean they actually have $12 billion in the bank. Unless everybody stays there and starts selling, buying it. But so it's something to think about when you're investing in this stuff here, because after I went to the mining conference, I learned a little bit there and kind of was like, whoa, I didn't think of it like that. Is this really? So now I'm investing, and it's a great way to raise money. There's a couple of the coins that I'm following right now that I bought some of. It's called XNN. It's a Xeon network. They're not launched yet, but they did an airdrop, and I thought it was worth something, so I started buying and started loading them up on them because they were like $10. And now I've come to find out it's only a token that gives you a discount off their ICO here in June. So yeah, they did that. They had 100 billion, just a bunch of coins. And they gave them away. I've got like 2,000 of them. And then they hit the markets, and you could actually trade them. So then they were selling more on the markets before they actually raised the money. So anyways, it's a crazy world. Global capitalization here. There's linear versus logarithmic. Now that's a chart I want to go over. It's important too. I meant to go this last time. I think I got the scale in here. Let me see it here. Where is the? I have to pull it up here in a minute. But there's 2 different ways of looking at something. The logarithmic is showing the percentage increase on a scale. Has anybody looked at the different scales on that when you do that on market cap or something? Yeah, pull it up real quick.
The website is referring to is called CoinMarketCap. If anybody doesn't know, CoinMarketCap keeps a listing of all the tradable coins that are available. It takes an average from the roughly 8,000 exchanges that are open. CoinMarketCap.com is personally the leading research site that I use to find information on coins. Yeah. 2013, just one guy. It doesn't take much. The internet is a powerful place.
I'm going to speed through this real quick. This is CoinMarketCap.com. This is the scale here. I'm going to speed this up. Sorry, I run out of time here. This is the scale. You can see it looks pretty scary on there, right? But that's a typical. This is the fun part when I look at it. If you go to the log scale on here, what this does, this breaks it down to percentages. So from here to here, if it raises 10%, in the beginning. 10% of $100 is $10. 10% of $1 billion, you know, it's when you look at it, this is a percentage basis. So in reality, it's not taken off that much. It's just grown by a percentage basis. If you look at it by the dollar amount, it's the same chart. It's just two different ways of looking at the chart. So, you know, it looks like, oh gosh, it's gone up 1,000% right there. Well, in reality, it's just gone up, you know, it's just gone up a little bit, percentage-wise. So, it's a fun way of looking at it. I'm going to go back to this here, finish the job, take a couple more slides, and then I'm going to get back to where I'm. All right. Another thing that's happening right now, which is this chart here. This is probably the most interesting chart of the night. Bitcoin was the granddaddy. It was the backdaddy of all. You know, that's what CNBC was talking about. Bitcoin is this. There was nothing else in existence. If you look at this here, these little things here are starting to take off. That's Ripple. That's Ethereum. And as they start to take off, they're taking money out of Bitcoin. There's almost a direct correlation right there. This top line is Bitcoin, and the rest are the altcoins there. So the bigger the altcoins get, they're taking money away from Bitcoin. So what you're seeing is people put money in Bitcoin, and they've made money or they've got investments in there. It's taking too long to do transactions, and they're starting to think, well, crap, this sucks. I'm going to go to another coin that's faster. And that's what you're seeing right there. So it's a good thing to look at. Yes?
That's that doesn't reflect the overall market cap, just the percentage of.
Yeah, this is the percentage of each one. That's
yeah,
correct.
So I mean, basically, Bitcoin can still go up, but because everything else is going up faster, it makes it look like it's going down.
Exactly. Well, this does. Yes, this does.
In a particular.
But if you add all these together, then that is the total back.
Percentage.
Total percentage of Bitcoin.
People in money in Bitcoin are moving into other cryptos. So
Exactly. Exactly. Bitcoin evolution. Real quick, if you look at the invested Bitcoin, there's multiple Bitcoins now. There's Bitcoin, Bitcoin 2X, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Diamond. There's a lot of different Bitcoins going out. It's crazy to see all this stuff. You got to read about those. They're all the same original chain. There's every time they do a hard fork, they create another chain and they add stuff to it. Trying to go through that there. Other coins, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Cash charts, Tron. Not gonna go through all these right now. What is the next coin? I do want to do one thing real quick. In just the last 5 minutes here. My goal was to start a top 5 or 10 coins in here. What is, by show of hand, I got some browsers here. What's the number one top coin right now besides Bitcoin or Ethereum? Ripple?
Oh, just not.
All right, ready? All right, Ripple. So I actually had that in there. So I'm going to put Ripple. I'm going to put Ripple in here. XRP, is that it?
XRP.
Okay. Another coin. Stellar. Who said that?
What was the question?
You guys that are doing?
The top coins aside from
These are donations. These are just little cell phone screen players donated by.
You're talking about top market cap?
Cardano.
88. 88. Okay. Oh, sorry. Anybody else?
NEM?
NEM, is that back there? Or NEM?
If you're
Doggy coin. What was that other coin? Tron. Okay, Tron. Hot coin. Yes.
Oh, I actually need one.
Ethereum,
Look at
Ethereum's
this.
gonna be in there.
Yeah, wax on, wax on.
What? EOS?
NEM was a
Okay. Any more? Ethereum, we already got that on. Litecoin?
Yes.
Electronium.
XMR.
Dime coin.
Nice.
Dime coin's gonna take over.
Dash, I like Dash. Look at Dash. Okay, what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna give the update from every meeting on those points, so we can kind of see what our group put together thing was, and we might be able to change them in and out. So hopefully we can come back next meeting and find some more stuff. So I heard some other coins out there. If you did call one, I got some little door prizes there. You can come grab one.
Tron.
Electronium.
All right, and the last, I'm sorry if I took too long. Ethereum, I've got, that's basically about it. Mining, I didn't get to my mining portion. There's my rig right there. So, yes, mining is fun. I'm just showing the thing we're making with that.
Like a heating machine.
My last thing here is if you heard of master nodes.
Yes.
Masternodes. I'm trying to do some masternodes myself right now. It's another aspect of mining. It's actually proof of stake. As I talked about earlier, I want to hit this last point here about other ways to make money in cryptocurrency. Is masternode. This is a masternode is basically a computer system that downloads the whole blockchain, and it also you stake money into it. And this is a list of masternodes available on the network now. You can go to the mastercro.com and look at it. Like the first one here, CrowdCoin, it requires you to have 1,000 tokens. The minimum worth right now is $10,388. Your monthly income is
Node.
your monthly income is $16,731. Your yearly income is $200,000. Wow. I have to revisit that.
What website is
this?
this?
That one for right now. But you can go in here and look at it. This is not my site. This is their site. This is stuff they put out there.
What
They
website?
do when they create masternodes.pro. What they do when they make this here, they basically say, how are we going to build our network and how are we going to support our network? And Talibura did it by creating a mining system where they award so many coins per block. The masternode system allows you to stake your stuff and use less computing power to earn block rewards. So you can learn more about that, but it's something else to look at and do some research. Any questions on that?
Do you have a masternode?
Yeah.
Everybody, Mike Chandler. So I'm going to quickly go over the top 10 cryptocurrencies for everybody, and I got about 15 minutes to do that. So I'm going to talk real quick. There are now over 1,506 cryptocurrencies out there, and there's 8,419 markets actually. So we have a $507 billion market cap for cryptocurrencies right now. These are the top 10, and I got my top 10 from what these guys were telling you about a little bit earlier from CoinMarketCap.com. So you can always go to CoinMarketCap. You can always see all the cryptocurrencies there, a majority of them, not all of them. But you'll see the majority of them, and that can enable you to actually click on any one of these, and that will take you to the primary site that will give you a graph. You can click on their website. You can follow through with updates and news. So it's an excellent site to use. Number one is always Bitcoin, or is Bitcoin right now. It has been for quite some time. And I just put together, a little bit of a reality check for us when it comes to pricing and where we were back in September and now where we are in February. In September, if you came to the meeting, we were at 3,978. October, we were at 5,600. November, 9,600. December, we jumped to the 19,000. January, this month, last month, we were at 15. We dropped in our second meeting on the 16th, we dropped down to 11, and now we're down to this was, today at 9,126, and now we're down to 8,000. So, for market cap, there is $154 billion when it comes to Bitcoin. Maximum supply would be 21 million. And the circulating supply right now, which shows you how many Bitcoin are actually in supply, is 16 million. So the cap would be the 21 million. And if you need this PowerPoint presentation, please make sure that you put your email in with Mike and those iPads, and we'll go ahead and email everybody this presentation so you have it for the future. What is with the drop? So I wrote this out a little bit yesterday and added some things to it, but also wanted to just mention that Japanese had to crack down on some of the exchanges. That means when they go into exchange, they actually freeze the exchange. There's no trading. And when that happens, you'll see a drop, a massive drop in the price. But that's not the only one. The Japanese are cracking down on ICOs, which is the initial coin offerings. And then you have the Chinese authority who are quietly stepping in and cracking down on cryptocurrency exchanges in South Korea. So what's the big deal with those is that in Japan, Bitcoin is actually considered a digital currency or a currency. It's used as a currency, unlike the United States where it's considered a property. So it makes a big impression upon the actual cryptocurrency market when they go in and they crack down. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next one now, just move on real quick. And that just tells you that the USA considers it a property, and it was born in 2009 when the blockchain was first introduced. So in 2009, Bitcoin was 0.0001 cent.
Wow.
So that gives you a little bit of a reality check as far as how much money that has been made by people over time, because in 2001, if you bought a bunch of Bitcoin at 0.001, by 2011, chances are you were a multimillionaire. And a lot of those people were very young that were multimillionaires. They invested in the technology. They have expanded upon it. And one of those gentlemen is Vitalik Buterin. Vitalik was 19 years old when he first thought of Ethereum. Ethereum is was talked a little bit about earlier. So what's the difference? It's considered a programmable contract and money. So it's both, not unlike Bitcoin, it's just considered a digital currency. Ethereum actually allows you to go on. You can create your own tokens. You can create smart contracts. If you want to sell a home, for instance, you can create a smart contract on the Ethereum platform using the ERC20 token and sell your home. As well as create your own tokens. So if you're the big trend right now with Ethereum is that if you are a superstar, if you're like, let's just say in sports, or maybe you're Kim Kardashian, you could create your own coin. And that coin can be introduced to the public, right? So let's say you create commercials or movies and your value is going up as an individual, your coin will go up with you and becomes more tradable and more valuable. So anybody right now, you're seeing this massive trend of people that are utilizing the Ethereum platform to create their own tokens and make a lot of money. So there's a lot of other things that are very interesting about Ethereum. And then there's also copycats to Ethereum. So Ethereum contract platforms allows you to build a tradable token with a fixed supply, a central bank that can issue money, and a puzzle-based cryptocurrency. So you can build a crowd fund to pre-sell your products, a crowd sale to sell virtual shares in a blockchain organization, and an auction of a limited number of items. So you actually have a lot of uses for Ethereum, and that's why it's considered pretty valuable there. It's also run as a nonprofit organization, and you can see their website on ethereum.org. And I highly suggest that you utilize YouTube to watch about Ethereum as it progresses along and integrates the Plasma network. Ripple XRP is not been pretty popular with the cryptocurrency people because it is actually utilized by banking institutions. They were the one coin that was backed by a corporation, and they are very highly effective in their marketing techniques. They are out there integrating with banks. They were utilized as a test case in 47 Japanese banks last year, and with success. And then we're now implemented into 67 Japanese banks, where Ripple is being utilized as a form of SWIFT process. So it's taking over the SWIFT process. So it is transferring money, wiring money across international barriers. Also, the news out of Ripple is that they were just accepted by Western Union and MoneyGram, and now they're being utilized as an actual form of payment. Now, in the past, I've reported about the X-Rapid, which was coming on to online to deploy payments and those quick payments, and now that's active and being utilized. So a lot more interested people are coming into XRP, as well as the rumor is still out there that Coinbase might still accept Ripple as another cryptocurrency. When that happens, if Coinbase actually does add Ripple as the ability to buy it, you're going to see a whole lot more people purchase this and start to utilize it. So, in November, we are at 21 cents. December 25. January, we jumped up to $3.30, and then by mid-January, we're down to 126, and now we just dropped below $1. So, some people consider that a buying opportunity. The downside that everyone talks about with XRP is that 60% of XRP is held by the corporation and 40% is out to the public. So the worry there is that at some point that they will drop a whole bunch of XRP onto the market, and that will reduce the price down and you'll lose a lot of money. So they have agreed to release partial XRP over a period of time, and that's on their website, so you can see the dates that they're actually going to drop a little bit onto the market. So those tokens will become active then. Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is essentially a Bitcoin clone, except the difference is that it's 8 megabytes as opposed to 1 megabyte in size. And that reason being is because they wanted to address the scalability issue. That's that issue that we talked about as far as fast transactions. That has been addressed with Bitcoin Cash, and it happened during a split or a fork. And so some people actually are utilizing Bitcoin Cash now more than they are Bitcoin because of the fact that it's speeder, it's a faster transaction using 8 megabytes as opposed to 1 megabyte. And it arrived on the scene on August 1st, so it's brand new, as you can tell. So in November, we were at $336, December, $1,600, January, we were at $2,461. I'm just going to skip down to today, where we're at $1,274. So it gives you kind of a, look, I mean, we're at $336 not too long ago, so still considered very valuable. Cardano, or ADA. This is one that's actually now quite talked about all over the place. It hit the top 10 and is now staying irrelevant as it becomes more and more used. The Greek people now and the graduates are using this to verify their identity as far as what they graduated with. And universities are now picking up ADA so they can verify who they are and what they graduated with as far as their education. So look for ADA as it becomes more and more utilized. Stellar Loons, or XLM. Stellar is about moving money across borders quickly, but very, very cheap, so fractions of penny. And this one also has been utilized by, it's my birthday today, you guys, so a lot of people are messaging me. But anyway, so this is a really, really fast way for people to move money across borders, and XLM is high. I mean, it's the talk of the town, and everyone says it's going to be the breakout cryptocurrency of 2018. We shall see. So we already. It's going to be red coin. Okay. So,
Dime coin.
So, Ant shares are Neo. Neo coin is the Chinese answer to Ethereum or Ether coin. They have created their own platform that is virtually the same thing as Ether is here. You can create smart contracts, you can create tokens, and they kind of had a leveling off. When China did a crackdown, Neo was headed straight up, and then all of a sudden leveled off. And now it is considered so if we look back over into August, it was at $38.76, and now it's at $123.83. So, and still going up. So it's a good thing to actually take a look at, and go to their website, please. Litecoin has been also something that really increased in value. Surprisingly, it was always one of those ones that was kind of low on the totem pole and never really, but always has been in the top. So it's considered the silver of cryptocurrency. Gold being Bitcoin, Litecoin being silver for a very long time. That's what people refer to it as. But this gentleman, Charlie Lee, has figured out the scalability issue, the speed of transaction issue. He did this a long time ago. He's actually been the one who's actively implemented the Lightning Network for Bitcoin. So he already figured that out a long time ago. And a lot of people now are using Litecoin as opposed to Bitcoin for transactions. Some companies are moving over to that. Sorry. So in November we're at $58, and today we're at $142.22 on Litecoin.
Hey Rob, did you hear anything about Litecoin merging with Monero?
I have not heard that.
I read an article, but I don't know how valid it is or true it is. Or
I have not heard that. No.
I figured you'd be the guy to ask.
Yeah, I'll definitely Googleize that. So I'll have to figure that one out. So EOS now, several people in this room are invested in EOS, and now it's in the top 10. is at $10.19. And I could talk a little bit about it, but does anybody else want to add anything about it? Do you know a lot about EOS? Anybody in here know anything about it? Okay. Well, EOS is a software that introduces a blockchain architecture designed to enable vertical and horizontal scaling of decentralized applications. And to do that, I'm just going to go to their website because I went ahead and wanted to make sure that you guys could see a little bit more about EOS. So I went there earlier today and realized, boy, I better just go to their website and let everybody know about that. I take you over to CoinMarketCap because I wanted to show you.
What's the issue that when they transfer over off the Ethereum network, like you go to the website and try to get your wallet to stake the coins ahead of time, so you don't lose it when you change over? You gotta download like a Tor browser and everything else to do that.
This is EOS you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, it's a brand new one to me too. And
you can use a VPN.
Yeah, because they're taking off their essentially going to the token. So by June, you actually have to stake the token in the wallet when they take the snapshot. But the problem is, you can't, because I had a bunch of them, made a little bit of money, but sold them because I couldn't download the thing. I didn't feel like downloading the damn Tor browser. Learn how to do something else. So,
Really? Really?
What is it?
Iron
token. What is that?
You can buy it on Binance.
Just as a heads up, if you're ever using Tor browser, according to the FBI, anybody that uses Tor browser is considered a terrorist.
That's why I didn't want to.
I mean, literally, I am not kidding. I am not joking. Just by having that browser, they literally consider you a terrorist or something like that.
Is that the onion route?
Just by having Tor browser. So if you do that route, just know that. Keep that in mind. So be careful with whatever you're doing.
You know.
So anyway, this is their website, you guys, and it's pretty in-depth here. It does have a white paper, and I highly suggest you go and read this technical white paper. It also has a really good underview of their marketing and many, many videos out on what they're about, what they're doing. And, you know, they're still in the beginning stages, so it might be something you would consider on jumping in on because they're so new to the market. But anyway, I wanted you guys to see what their website looked like. Nemcoin. So Nemcoin is also one of the ones that have been in the top 10, and now is just, you know, increasing in value. It was at 21 cents in December, and now in February it's at 62 cents. And it's designed and coded from the ground up for scale and speed. Again, with the fast transactions, very, very low cost. It was launched its first stable release in version on March 31st of 2015. So it's been around for a little while.
How fast is the transaction?
Oh, no, these are seconds. These are seconds transactions.
No, I know, but how many transactions?
I believe that Nemcoin is trying to keep up with the MasterCard and Visas of the world. So yeah, they're competing.
Really getting close to the other ones you guys mentioned beforehand, you know, 4%.
Yeah, they're labor. We're labor.
The goal is to be 1,500 transactions. That's what Visa and MasterCard look at. And the closest one to that is Ripple, and it's at some thousand. IOTA has potential to get up there, and many other ones are in the 20 to 30 range. As far as
okay, thank you.
And isn't Visa also starting their own coin now?
Yes, they are talking about starting their own.
Now look, that's what I wanted to say too. It's like even if these coins get adopted to the major companies, there's nothing saying that they won't come out with their own soon after that. If it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's happened already a bunch of times. Sure, they have a huge partnership. They learn everything they need from it, and then they dump it. Like right now, we're wondering, oh, what's Wells Fargo going to do? What's Wells Fargo going to do? If anybody's got that Wells Fargo app right now, you ever sent money with Zelle?
Yes.
Okay, I can't buy a Zelle coin anywhere.
Right. Yes.
Okay, but they're using you know, the same method to send money. Right now, I can send money to anybody with a Wells Fargo app in 40 seconds. It hits your account. All I need is your phone number.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can't buy that coin anywhere. So be careful when you buy something just based off who the partners are. Exactly. All those this licensing. They're all licensed. You know, they're going to license you your technology. Which that's a rental, and it's going to, you know, they could easily come out with their own. Just like Visa will most likely use their own before they ride somebody else's wave. This is true. They're bigger than that. You know, be careful when their partners have way more money than they do. You know, they should have more money than their partners.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise you just get eaten.
So I wanted to go on to IOTA coin, and I'm pretty excited about IOTA for a lot of reasons, but mostly because we're directly involved with these folks now, where they actually are coming to Southwest Florida. They showed up at one of our meetings back in October, and it was about 40 cents at the time, and some of us went home and grabbed it, and others didn't, like me. But I really have been like talking with them on a regular basis. You know, Dieter from the Rocket Lounge is highly involved with them. But it's called the Internet of Things. This is nano transactions. That means anything with a microchip in it can be monitored and monetized. So if you have something at home, like your refrigerator, your microwave, your car, anything that has that can actually make you money or be monetized. It actually can send information to the manufacturer, how long you had it, who you are. It can update people. For instance, there's a guy in Southwest Florida that's an air conditioning man. He's talking about putting IOTA chip into the AC units. So every installation that he does, if he puts this chip in there, it will notify him that it needs to be serviced, maybe something's wrong with it, update him on what's happening with that. So they're talking about putting devices on top of buildings. Rocket Lounge right now is going to have one in downtown Fort Myers. That device will get all that information feeding in from all of these different sources, okay? So nano transactions is what you want to think about when you talk about IOTA and how in the Tangle network and what it's geared to. And it's called the Internet of Things, and it's a big deal. I mean, it really changes everything that we do and how we do it. So we are, in January, we're at 288, and we fell off now a little bit. But I went ahead and put all of their website here. They keep updates on Twitter, and they have a great forum and blog. So I highly suggest you go to their website, get integrated with IOTA, understand what it's about. It's about the sharing economy is what it's all about. So there's a difference now. This is the only one that is not run on the blockchain. It's the Tangle network. It's not utilizing the blockchain.
Actually, that's no longer true.
Yes.
There is now a second Tangle currency called Byteball Bytes.
And that's using blockchain, is that what you mean?
No, it uses Tangle.
Oh, it's using Tangle. Okay, all right. So there's another one you're saying.
Yes.
It's called Bytes.
Byteball Bytes.
Byteball Bytes. You were saying, sir?
There's more.
There's more coming. Yes.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of people are trying to launch their ICOs.
Yes, yes.
This meeting, there's probably more.
Yeah, and I've also heard rumors that SAP is going to integrate IOTA, as well as some other, like Oracle is going to utilize IOTA. And then today, the news was, Mike, can you tell people the news about IOTA?
Well, Taipei and Taiwan is going to have a digital, like the city of the future, and integrating their government and for voter identification, court records, blah, blah, blah. They've adopted it citywide.
So there you go. There's another reason to consider IOTA, because Taipei just integrated it into their country, and they're going to be utilizing it. So, and then Tron. Everyone's talking Tron, and Tron got some bad press originally because part of the white paper was copied from other coins, right? And that put people in a bad taste in their mouth as far as Tron. But Tron is still like one of the hottest talked about coins all over the internet. And I follow all of these top cryptocurrencies every single day. And I use Google Alerts. I highly suggest you use Google Alerts. If you don't use Google Alerts right now, Google Alerts, put in the coin that you're interested in, and every day they're going to mail you. You'll see all of these articles that come out worldwide about these coins, and that gives you a better idea of what's happening with them. So I did a bunch of information here on Tron. Tron Protocol is blockchain's entertainment system of free content in which Tron's coin is circulating. Its native economic system enables an unprecedented one-on-one interaction between providers of digital entertainment content and ordinary users. Therefore, content providers will no longer need to pay high channel fees to centralized platforms like Google Play and Apple's App Store. Also, providers of content such as text, pictures, videos, and broadcasts will break the curse that popularity and hits cannot create cash. So what's that mean? That means right now, when you upload something to Facebook, You don't own it anymore. Facebook owns it. Okay? Tron is trying to get where any content that you put out there on the internet is owned by you and you're getting paid for that. So it locks you in, monetizes your content on social media.
So this is way beyond the music industry.
Yeah, this is pretty much everything. So
It's a nickel today, isn't it?
What's that?
Is it a nickel today?
Yes, cheap, like 4 cents.
4 cents, yeah.
4 cents. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the top 10. Please look for our meetup. Please look for our next Naples meeting. Our Naples meeting is going to be probably mid-February or the end of February. We're still working on a date. The place is gorgeous. So please go to our meetup and look for that. And interact with us. Call us on our cell phones, on our cards. Always get a really cool T-shirt from us. It's really cool. So we have this stuff. And if you ever want to have courses like a 101 course or 102, please reach out to Clifford and look for our next schedule, okay? All right, thanks everybody. Thanks.